When Zion Williamson was drafted first overall in 2019, he was supposed to be the next big thing in the NBA. He was the most hyped prospect since LeBron James. He was explosive, dominant, and he was built like a tank with a guard-like agility. But here we are at this point, years later, and Zion has been more of a massive disappointment than a generational superstar. Let's talk about why here. Zion's biggest issue, in my opinion, is he simply can't stay on the court. Since entering the NBA, he's played in literally less than half of the possible games that he would have been able to play. The injuries at this point have plagued his career, from knee issues to foot problems to hamstring strains. The Pelicans literally just can't keep waiting for him to have a fully healthy season at this point, but it just simply hasn't happened. And if you look at it, there's reasons to why. We saw it early at Duke, where he had that injury. And it was about midway through the year. It was famous, the Nike shoe got destroyed. And that was a big issue. And I saw that and I said, is that a throwaway injury or is that for real? And I think it has been for real. But a lot of this has to do with Zion's size and weight. Zion's size is part of what makes him so dominant, but it's also a major problem. Reports have surfaced that his weight has gone as high as 300 pounds at times, putting extra stress on obviously his knees, his feet. Conditioning has been a consistent concern, and the longer that he struggles with it, the less likely he is to ever reach his full potential at this point. The stress being 300 pounds with what he's doing on the court is going to destroy his knees. He needs to find a way. Another red flag that you look at is Zion's attitude towards the whole thing. Unlike young stars in the NBA like Luka Doncic, Anthony Edwards, other European stars like Wemby, Zion hasn't shown that true leadership quality yet. It seems like he's done a lot of commercials, done a lot of breaks. His commitment to New Orleans has been questioned, I would say, multiple times. And there have been, as I said, there's been a lot of rumors that he's not fully dedicated to improving his game. When you're a franchise player, it's just a big problem. And they need to figure this out, and they need to see what they can do, because when Zion plays, the Pelicans, they're a competitive team. I remember at one point he had him first, I believe, last year. But how can you build a championship contender around a guy that just simply is never available? New Orleans has made roster moves expecting Zion to be the centerpiece, but their plans keep getting derailed. This has left the team at this point in limbo. Not bad enough to rebuild it completely, but not good enough to contend. Zion's unavailability is holding the franchise hostage at this point. So at this point, what does the future hold for Zion Williamson? He's still incredibly young, and if he stays healthy, he could turn things around possibly. But at this point, the clock's ticking. He's looking more and more like a type of player like Derrick Rose, where when they're in, you see it. You see the ability. You see how good they can be. But when they're not in and you just see the stress of the injuries, it could be really brutal. And if you're the Pelicans, seeing that they just shut him down at this point, he's only played 214 games for them, and he was drafted in 2019. At this point, and as I said, when he goes on the court and when he plays, he has shown that he's a phenomenal player. But with all that being said, and with the crazy dunks and the athleticism, and you can see it, I don't think it's worth them putting any more time. He's past the point where he's going to be that pure number one guy that's going to lead that team to a championship. I think at this point, the best role for him would be a 2 on a team, somewhere behind a really solid player. Like if he played with LeBron, it'd be great, but obviously the Lakers would have to get him on the super cheap. I think maybe him and Kevin Durant wouldn't be bad. He would be decent on the Warriors with Steph Curry. He needs something like that where there's a clear number one guy and he needs to be the second or third piece because he's not going to consistently play enough games. He's not going to consistently at this point play enough games. So if I'm New Orleans, while he has a little bit of value left, I would trade him at this point. You've seen what you needed to see with him. You can't keep wasting time. As I said, it's holding the franchise hostage at this point. You got to get rid of him. And they were lucky to land him. They were lucky to land him. But if you're New Orleans, you hope that you somehow get Cooper Flagg this year. I don't think they will. But Zion Williamson has just not lived up to the point, and he's been a massive disappointment. He has not been the player that he was nearly supposed to be at this point, and it's sad for a franchise like that. And you just kept thinking year after year after year, when's that year where he's going to be fully healthy? It just hasn't happened. And you look at it, he was playing, and it's reason too when he plays this good. He has great games. He just cannot sustainably put it together. Like every game that I've watched Zion Williamson play in the NBA, when he's actually playing, he looks like a bona fide star. But he's just not out there enough. You need to be out there if you want to win titles. You need to be out there if you want to. He's starting to look more and more like a lesser version of like a Charles Barkley or something. That's more than what I'm seeing at this point compared to what we wanted, what we thought he could be. And we thought he could be on the level of a player, like a big time guy. We thought he could be like, we thought he was like LeBron Jr. with what he was able to do at his size, but that has not been the case. He's shown pretty much at this point that he doesn't have a lot of work ethic. He has clearly, he slimmed down a bit, but he clearly has not put the proper amount of time in the gym that he's needed to put. And you have to realize at this point, these are these people's lives. This is where they make their money. It's basically a slide to the other players in the NBA because he got paid a ridiculous contract for essentially not providing anything for that franchise, playing wise. It's sad to the other NBA players that are really hustling out there and playing through. And let's be honest here, some of those injuries, he's sitting out intentionally. When you're sitting that much, a lot of it, some of the injuries, it's not the case, but some of it looks like he's sitting out intentionally. That's what I will say. But at this point, do you think Zion will ever be the superstar we expected him to be? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more NBA content. But let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think he will ever be the superstar that we expected to be? So far, I think it's been a massive disappointment.